another milestone at the NHRA Pro Stock World Championships. And we'll find out who'll win this Honda motorcycle and this custom-built trailer as the Coors Trivia Contest winners are announced. Ensenada, Mexico, population about 80,000. But during Baja Week, that number seems to double. Everywhere you look, there are off-road vehicles of just about every size and description. And with each vehicle, there is a huge team of supporters. For the factories, a Baja win is the basis for a year's worth of advertising. And for new machines, a good finish at Baja can spell success. Everyone who is anyone in off-road racing is at Baja, even the CIA. At 6 a.m., the first motorcycles leave Ensenada. Number 662 is Chuck Miller on a Honda. Miller, like most motorcycle entrants, will not ride the entire 1,000 miles.
Chuck Miller and I are splitting it up. We're each getting approximately 500 miles. He's riding the first 200, and then I'm going to get on and ride 100. Then he gets on and goes about 300 more, and I go the last 400 to the finish.
The course from Ensenada to La Paz runs the length of the Baja Peninsula. 1,013 miles of washed-out roads, river bottoms, silt beds, ruts, and wide-open trails. The strategy? Twist the throttle as far as it will go and leave it as long as you dare or until the dust becomes too thick to see. Baja is not for the timid. At La Paz, over 15,000 spectators were on hand to greet the finishers. The overall winner, with a time of 18 hours, 5 minutes, 52 seconds, was the team of Ogilvie and Miller. Including a half-hour stop to replace an ignition, they averaged 55.973 miles per hour. The fastest off-road car, driven by Mark McMillan, took 20 minutes and 36 seconds longer. The first three-wheel vehicle to finish was this Volkswagen. Score officials, though, refused to allow the last-minute change in class. A cross-country championship at 24 miles per hour seems tame compared to Ogilvie and Miller's assault on Baja. However, those riders who averaged 24 miles per hour were dodging trees and mud holes. They were back east competing in the AMA National Championship Enduro Series.
Wooded trails shrouded with beautiful autumn leaves was the setting for round 10 of the AMA National Championship Enduro Series at Bear, Delaware. Over 500 riders were entered, but only 400 chose to ride. The reason? A cold rain had turned the course into 126 miles of water and slippery mud. One of the 400 riders was Team Husqvarna three-time and defending National Enduro champion, number 23A, Terry Cunningham. With two events still remaining on the schedule, a win for the 28-year-old Columbus, Ohio rider could sew up his fourth national title. The basic rule of enduro riding is to maintain a predetermined mile-per-hour average. Riders that are early or late at checkpoints are penalized. In addition, there are some unwritten rules. Rule 1. Do not attempt to maintain the mile-per-hour average on a narrow, rock-filled trail. Rule 2, when on a roll, don't stop. You'll lose momentum, and getting started again could be a problem. Rule 3, if you're Terry Cunningham, disregard rules 1 and 2. TC not only rode the section on time, but was early. He stopped in the middle of the boulder-strewn trail to allow time to catch up. When he was back on his minute, TC put his Husky in gear and went on down the trail. At Delaware, most riders expected to drag their bikes up the slippery hills. Not many, though, dragged them down. This fellow did, and while the drag down wasn't particularly graceful, he did get to the bottom. The alternative was to ride down. At the final checkpoint, Cunningham knew his ride was a good one. It was, in fact, good enough to win his second straight Delaware title and his fourth National Enduro Championship. Reporting for Motorworld.
Distance from Japanese motorcycle companies have changed the face of American club racing. Case in point, the recent Suzuki GSX-R and Honda Interceptor Series finals. Run on production machines, the Suzuki and Honda championships have provided an alternative to the high-buck world of professional racing.
Tires, shock absorbers, anything that you need for bike preparation is right there. It's readily available to the public at relatively inexpensive prices. and a little bit of time involved for preparation and going to the racetrack and racing, and you're on your way.
26-year-old Texan Doug POLEN came to Road Atlanta looking to pad his pocket and substantiate his status as race favorite in all 3 money races.
I finished first 61 times out of 83 races, and it's netted me about $70,000. From what I can tell, I've made as much or more purse money than anybody else in the nation this year, AMA or amateur.
First to run was the Suzuki GSX-R 1100cc final. Local rider Ron Eworth, number 9, surprised the West Coast riders by storming into the lead. Poland, number 2, and veteran Dan Shivington, number 7, soon joined Eworth. The trio circulated a 2.5-mile track in formation, waiting for the last lap. Last turn, last lap, and Shivington, number 7, pulls the win out of his hat with this daring and most profitable move. $6,000 to be exact. Next up, the Honda Interceptor Series Final for 500cc machines. The skies opened up during the race, making for slippery conditions. Poland, number 2 again, took the lead at the halfway point and fishtailed his way to the checkered flag and $5,000, courtesy of Honda. The Suzuki GSX-R 750 final was next. 15 laps for a $5,000 first place prize. Poland was not taking any chances this time and took the lead from the start and never looked back. Local star Mike Harth, number 36, rode an inspired race to finish second despite the pain of 2 broken hands. But the day and the weekend belong to Poland, whose total earnings in the Suzuki Series alone have netted him close to $100,000. That's more than a majority of factory contracted riders. Reporting for Motorworld, this is Dennis.
Honda's Dash for Cash. Road Atlanta hosted the final round of the WERA Endurance Championship. All year long, competitors have been chasing Team Hammer. But in order to ensure a 3rd national championship, Team Hammer entered a 2nd machine.
Running the A-bike with the intention of completing 100 laps, playing everything safe, don't take any big risks passing anybody. The B-bike will be ridden by myself and Scott Gray with the intention of winning the race. It's a lot faster machine, and Scott and I are both aggressive riders, and we'll be out front.
Sadowski, Gray, and local rider Mike Harth backed up Sadowski's pre-race prediction and put Team Hammer's B machine into the lead in the first hour. The number 108 Suzuki looked like a sure winner until the 1 hour and 30-minute mark. Californian Scott Gray decided to try a little dirt tracking in the middle of a road race. Exit Team Hammer B machine. Enter number 915 High Tech Racing. The trio of Larry Jernick, Scott Breeden, and Fritz King put their Suzuki 1100 in front at the halfway point in a 6-hour enduro. With all the attention focused on Team Hammer's championship, High Tech went on to take a quiet but deserved win. Meanwhile, farther back in the field, old reliable Team Hammer number 11, the A machine, was cruising along at a championship pace. Riding carefully, Californians Doug Toland and Peter Carroll babied their Suzuki around the Road Atlanta course. Their ride for the point strategy worked. After 6 hours, they took the checkered flag and their 3rd WERA National Endurance Championship. Reporting for Motorworld, this
Pro Stock division in 7 out of the last 9 Winston World Finals. But at this year's 22nd Annual World Finals, Vance in the far lane faced a strong challenger to his Pro Stock dynasty, Dave Schultz out of Fort Myers, Florida, on the baby blue Kawasaki. The two started even off the line, but Schultz, with the aid of an onboard computer monitoring engine combustion, edged out Vance at the finish. The prestigious win was the first for Schultz in National Hot Rod Association Pro Stock competition. Vance did not go home empty-handed, though. The Suzuki rider amassed enough points in preliminary rounds to take his 13th career Pro Stock World Championship. At the recent International Drag Bike Association's World Finals, Vance had another uncharacteristic off day. In second-round eliminations, Vance suffered mechanical problems in his run against first-year pro Ohio's Marty Blades. Vance had been fast qualifier, but had to pack up and head home early. Vance's arch rival and computer whiz Dave Schultz made it to the IDBA Pro Stock Final, but he too fell victim to a rising star in Russ Olmsted of Heber Springs, Arkansas. Olmsted cut a great light, and Schultz and his computer could not make up the distance. wins. Olmsted was running only his third ever pro race. Schultz was consoled by the fact that his appearance in the finals earned him the Pro Stock #1 plate for 1987. Marty Blades ended up second, while Superbike Mike Keith finished the year in third. In the funny bike final, Keith Lynn, 32 years old, of Wabash, Indiana, went up against Bobby Baker, also 32, from Camden, South Carolina. Lynn took his turbo Kawasaki to the win and a record ET of 7.23 seconds at 171.75 miles per hour. But like as in the Pro Stock final, the loser in the battle won the war. Bobby Baker, Kawasaki mounted from South Carolina, ended up with the funny bike #1 plate. Finally, in the Procom final, 30-year-old Jim Dodich out of Orlando, Florida, on the laydown blown Kawasaki versus 40-year-old Suzuki-mounted Steve Drake from Xenia, Ohio. Dodich unleashed his machine and delivered a 7.82 ET at 173.41 miles per hour. But continuing the theme, the loser in this case, Steve Drake, took the class championship for the year. Drake and Darlington, South Carolina's Neil Lane tied on points, but Drake had more national wins to take the title. Reporting for Motorworld, this is Mark
Beach Harbor, and Her Majesty's Queen Mary played host to the AMA Awards banquet, saluting the 1986 AMA champions. The Queen Mary was a unique but appropriate place to acknowledge the kings of the sport. It was great to see the usually leather-clad racers out in their Sunday best. There's Camel Pro dirt track champ Bubba Schobert. Take a good look. You probably won't see him in a tie again till next year's banquet. Ah, that Fred Merkel. Now there's a road racer who knows how to dress as well as ride a superbike. Motocross standouts Rick Magic Johnson and 500cc MX King David Bailey were also seen mingling and sampling the Queen's cuisine. Longtime motorcycle personality Dave Despain and yours truly handled the Master of Ceremonies responsibilities and helped hand out the silver. The big award of the night was shared by two champions. The 1986 AMA Co-Athletes of the Year Award went to dirt track champ Bubba Schobert and Supercross champ Rick Johnson. Motorworld congratulations go out to all the champions and to the AMA for a night to remember. Meanwhile, in the East, motorcycling was taking its place among this country's most famous Washington landmarks. The Smithsonian Institute, which houses America's most treasured historical artifacts, currently has on display an AMA motorcycle exhibit. The exhibit, which traces motorcycling from 1900 to 1940, has proved very popular with the public. So much so that the Smithsonian has extended the motorcycle exhibit an additional 8 months till August of '87. By that time, over 10 million American and foreign visitors will have viewed the motorcycle exhibit. Ladies' Day at the track usually means a free ticket to a day of horse racing and a big line at the $2 wagering window. But in Southern California, Ladies' Day recently took on a whole new meaning. Ari Landrum has that report.
At Glen Helen Raceway near San Bernardino, California, 50 of the best female motocrossers in the USA were on hand to compete in the 12th annual Women's Pro Motocross Championship. At stake were 125 and 250 titles and the Grand National Championship, which went to the rider accumulating the most points in the two classes. Among the competitors was last year's Grand National Champion and 1986 AMA Women's Champion, 23-year-old Mercedes Gonzalez from Arleta, California. Posing a threat to Gonzalez was Vicky Jackson, number 3X, who came all the way from England to race the American ladies. In the 250 class, Gonzalez's competition failed to materialize. She got the whole shot in both motos, put her Kawasaki on cruise control, and easily outrode the rest of the field. The moto wins gave Mercedes the 250 national title and the points lead for the Grand National Championship. Finishing second in both motos was the visiting Brit, Vicky Jackson. Still up for grabs was the 125 championship. On paper, that too figured to be a Gonzalez benefit. Vicky Jackson, number 3X, however, did not bother to read the headlines, and she stormed into the lead in moto number 1. With Jackson pulling away, Gonzalez had her work cut out. Mercedes needed the 125 win to guarantee her the Grand National title. With that motivation, Gonzalez quickly moved into second place and started to close on Jackson. The race outcome changed dramatically when Jackson had trouble with a lapped rider. Gonzalez made the pass and took the lead. At the checkered flag, it was Gonzalez by a mile. She repeated her performance in the second 125 moto. Mercedes Gonzalez ended up winning everything in sight at the Women's Pro National World Championships? Well, almost everything. The competition at the Champagne Shower proved to be too much for the 1986 Grand National Champion. This is Erie Landrum reporting for Motorworld.
50 Grand Prix at Unadilla, the one race that had eluded him throughout his career, America's favorite motocrosser took a well-deserved rest and pondered retirement.
Yeah, I haven't been doing much since Unadilla. I've only ridden about 15 days. I've done some testing for Suzuki and haven't done any racing. I've been doing a little bird hunting and flying around a little bit, playing around. Now I've got to get to work. I feel like I'm 80 years old today.
80 years old or not, the retirement question has been answered. Hannah will captain the 1987 U.S. Suzuki motocross effort.
Suzuki's got a bunch of new guys, Donnie Schmidt and Johnny O'Mara and Turpin and Tishner and Willie Surratt. So they've got a lot of strong guys now, and I think it's more they're putting the pressure on those kids to win and letting me do some testing and PR and go watch those kids and see if I can help them out at all. But the pressure's kind of off me to win the races now.
To the legions of Bob Hannah fans, the lack of pressure will not make a difference. They'll expect an all-out effort.
Oh, I'm going to try to beat him. I don't know if I'm Rick Johnson's caliber anymore, you know. I'm going to try to win any race I'm in. It's just I'm not going to ride as many races, that's all, and I may be a little out of shape and a little older than these guys, but I'll be in there, I think.
There was still one more question to be answered. Will Hannah continue to pursue a new career in automobile racing?
Yeah, I'm going to try to get into the cars, you know, next year do some more of it. This year I did a couple races, and next year I'd like to get into some more of it. I'm real busy right now, so Suzuki comes first, and car racing is going to have to come second.
I haven't contested 500 GPs. I've got a really good offer from the Kawasaki importer of Italy, and things are looking real positive at this point that I'll be competing in the World Championships and riding on a Kawasaki.
Having a sponsor and competing is one thing. To be a championship challenger is another. That takes being in shape, a great deal of preparation, and a good plan of attack.
Right now I'm set up in an apartment, but I'm looking to move into a house with about an acre lot, and no problem for training and practicing. There's a gym right in town and about 6 tracks within 10 miles. I'm going over there already. Looking forward to riding the Florida Series and defending the #1 plate in the 250 class, and hopefully I'll go healthy and ready and start out the season with wins and just be consistent and try to hold the lead in the beginning and go all the way through, just being consistent and maintaining the points lead.
If the 1987 500cc Grand Prix title boils down to rider ability and attitude, then America could very well have its 3rd motocross world champion.
I think I have a good chance at winning. I've been over there racing for the last 6-8 weeks, and I've had like 6 firsts, 2 seconds, a third, and a fourth, and I'm looking forward to going back.
Eddie Lawson has won every important road race event and title in the world. To date, he's won 2 National Superbike Championships, 2 World Championships, the Daytona 200, and a Superbikers title. How and when did this all begin? Motorworld went out to the World Champ's home in California to find out.
Well, I began riding in '65, right here where we're sitting now. And my grandfather was into racing, and my father was into racing, so it's always been in the family. So I just kind of worked around that and began riding a little 80cc Yamaha right here. And in '71, I began racing dirt track, local dirt tracks in Southern California area. And from there, we went through all the rankings of novice pro and amateur pro and of course, the expert pro. And that was up until about '78, and that's when I began road racing. My first road race was in '77 at Daytona, and we won that, so we were pretty excited about that.
That win at Daytona did not go unnoticed by Kawasaki hierarchy, and Lawson was hired to ride Team Green's Superbike. 2 championships later, Yamaha put in the call to glory. In 4 years with Yamaha, he has won the Daytona 200 and 2 500cc World Championships, including the '86 title. In fact, Lawson and fellow Americans Randy Mamola, Mike Baldwin, and Freddie Spencer have dominated the GP scene.
I think it's just our turn right now. You know, I think that we're just going through a time where the Americans are the fastest right now. A while back it was the Italians. Before that was the English. So I think you're going to see more guys from other countries going a lot faster.
If you were to visit the Lawson household, you would get the impression that American dominance is here to stay, at least as long as Eddie Lawson is riding. A recent addition to Lawson Manor is his much-publicized garage, which houses the Lawson Toy Company. Included in this year's lineup are your standard powerboat rocket ship, your everyday back and forth to the market transportation, and a tasty sampling of two-wheeled tidbits. With all these assets, a jet-set lifestyle, and worldwide notoriety, Eddie Lawson still has his feet firmly planted on the ground. He understands his needs and his priorities.
One is racing, definitely the competitiveness in me. And two, I like to be on my own a lot. I like to get away from it all. I like to go very slow as well as fast. I like to just float down the river doing nothing. And I like that relaxed atmosphere. I like to think down to earth and just, you know, a basic kind of guy and not complicated in any way.
Eddie Lawson and his fellow American cohorts have a busy time of it racing on the international scene. Not only do they race in Europe, but they venture to the Far East as well. Dennis Torres reports on two of Asia's biggest annual road race gatherings.
As in America, when Malaysian motorcycle fans come to see a race, they come on bikes. And just as in America, they have to eat. So concession stands are aplenty, although some of the cuisine tends to be a little strange. The action at Malaysia's Johor Grand Prix is about as suspect as the food. Promoters imported Team Lucky Strike, consisting of Californian Randy Mamola, number 6, and number 11, Connecticut's Mike Baldwin. The local opposition did not amount to much, so Mamola and Baldwin treated the fans to a wheelie show. Mamola and Baldwin both toyed with the locals and swapped wins in the two-heat format. On the other side of the spectrum in terms of competition is the Suzuka 8-hour for 4-stroke world endurance machines. Close to 200,000 jammed the 3.6-mile course to watch some of the greats, which almost always includes a strong American contingent, including those guys from Team Lucky Strike again. In this race, though, King Kenny Roberts himself, the team's ramrod, chose to do the riding. Mike Baldwin teamed with Roberts, but mechanical problems slowed the team's progress. Baldwin ended the day by trashing the bike and taking that long walk back to the pits. The top American finisher in this year's race was Kevin Schwantz, number 12, who teamed with Japanese Formula One champ Satoshi Sujimoto to finish third. The race winners, number 4 Grand Prix ace Wayne Gardner and French teammate Dominique Serrand. The Australian-Franco duo rode their Honda RVF 750 to a convincing win. Reporting for Motorworld, this
Salt Palace Center Arena, Salt Lake City, Utah. It was the site of the 1986 World Cup Ice Speedway Finals, a type of race unfamiliar to most racing fans.
Actually, you got to be really fast and you got to be smart because it's so easy to make a mistake. Mistakes come very quick. The pylons, the rules with the pylons is if you tag a pylon, you move a pylon, you're out. And the racing is so close that a lot of bumping and stuff goes on and it gets really tense. Like it could go any way. It's kind of like tossing a coin. It's like a drag race and hoping that everything works just right. If you got the combination, if you got it set up right, then it works and everything clicks. But it could happen, anything could happen. It's quite wild.
To control the 500cc machines on the slippery ice, hundreds of sheet metal screws with razor-sharp heads are embedded in each tire. The pattern of the screws and how tight they are determine the amount of traction. The lineup for the main event was determined by a series of heat races in which each rider competed against all the other riders. Series points leader and defending champion Gary Ford won every heat and earned the pole position. When the gate went up, Ford got a good start and was able to hold the inside line. George Laser from New York was second. Speedway ice races are only 4 laps long. One mistake and a rider usually is out of the competition. There is no time for recovery. Laser made that mistake and watched the rest of the race from a cold
Western Pennsylvania and the defending national champion in the ATV portion of the Wiseco Suzuki Cross Country Championships. His arch rival and top 3-wheel rider is Ted Trey, 24 years old from Frederick, Maryland. After 8 laps of a challenging 12-mile course, one of these riders will be declared the ATV Cross Country National Champion. Trey, number 5 on the Honda 3-wheeler, went off first with his fellow 3-wheel competitors. Tokay's class was included in the 4th wave. Both Tokay and Trey were tied on points coming into the fall Fireball. Whoever finished the race first would be champion. The Fireball course was tight in some places, favoring the 3-wheel contingent, but rough and fast in other sections, favoring the high-speed stability of the 4-wheelers. By the end of the first lap, it was obvious Trey in the blue jersey was fighting a losing battle. He was almost a minute and a half behind his 4-wheel rival. By the end of the race, the margin grew to 2.5 minutes. Tokay had upheld the 4-wheel honors while Trey was the bridesmaid for the 2nd straight year. Tokay had defended his national title and relieved a heavy burden.
To say the least. I mean, these last 2 weeks, you know, that's all I could think about. And Teddy Trey, of course, you know, he's always been right there, you know, either in front of me, right with me, or behind me. And it came down to this today, and looks like I did it.
In the motorcycle division, this man, Eddie LoJack, was favored to win the race and the series championship. And why not? LoJack cut his racing teeth in these woods and lives only minutes away from the course. LoJack and his family are legend in this neck of the woods, and the name LoJack has stood atop the Fireball race results since 1982. 4 years later, the results remain the same. The 26-year-old veteran took an easy win despite a cracked exhaust pipe. In addition, he gave locals another LoJack chapter in the ongoing history of the Fireball. Reporting for Motorworld, this is Ben Cheatwood.